on to the next, which is a data map. The data map answers two questions: where and how much. So we talk about a quantity now. They are using some sort of shading. Hopefully it's a progressive shading that really graphically maps or indicates the category to which each of the several sub areas within a larger belong. So it's ranges, okay? And this allows us to see some patterns that might not otherwise be apparent. And they can present a lot of amounts, massive amounts of data in a small space. Examples that we typically see are our presidential maps. I'll come back to that slide. Here you see an example of, when we have an election, we see states and they are grouped in categories, and the data map shows us that. We also see weather maps using these. So what do we want to do when we're creating these data maps? Of course, we want to divide this data logically, and there's that little ethical part. We make sure that we're ethically dividing the data. How should we divide the data? You want to deal with round numbers, and you might want to just take a quarterly approach, the four-way division. You want to use progressive shading, and the shading is you have to be a little bit aware of what colors you're using, because typically a lighter shade or the lightest shade is the category with the lowest number. We think darker colors, heavier, bigger numbers. Lighter colors, lower, smaller numbers. So your big numbers to small numbers, if you're showing a range, would be light to dark. And make sure it's progressive, don't jump around. You might have to include some pointer boxes to help with definition, but you do want to really limit those non-essential shades. Don't have 10 different categories with 10 different colors of shading, because that's impossible for the viewer to really distinguish the difference there. On to some more examples here. So we looked at this, editorial votes, and some color coding there. Now we have a little bit of a key over here because we do need to have some definition. We don't always need to do that. The key here too is try to limit down on your number of shades. So in here we have 4, and that really is that magic number that we try to stick with. Don't use more than 4 shades. Of course, there are times when you have to break that rule, but that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So here we see a data map. We see a fever chart. We see a bar chart. We see some visual metaphors with the money and the coins in the bottom corner. So we've got a lot of combination things happening here. So there's some information we could consider these circles being pointer boxes because they are highlighting key specific information. So this is not only just telling us, showing us a map, it's trying to tell us a story. It's communicating some sort of a message. And of course, you want to make that message clear for your audience to understand. One more data map. Again, we're limited. Now, in this case, if you look at the legend, which one of the kind of things that we really don't want to see, but for data maps of all, probably what we need to have some sort of a definition. Notice how the dark is the most, the light is the least. In this case, we do have a few more. I think there's about 7 of them down there. So we're kind of breaking that 4 rule, but we might need to do that. But we do see a progressive range. So we see California, I'm assuming, probably the darkest. We have numbers here to give us more of that communicated message, make sure we're clear that, yeah, if I do a quick scan, that is the highest number. That is the most. Okay? So interesting ways that we can do this. One other type of a data map that's a little bit more trendy, a little bit more into the interactive world, is the maps that show some social media. So this is trendsmap.com. Shows the trending Twitter tags right now happening, and it's live, it's current. So we can actually see the world view, and if we zoom into certain areas like our region, we can see what's happening just in our area. So I'm zoomed in so far, you can't really see anything as far as definition, but I do have St. Cloud here, Minneapolis, Lakeville. So you can see here's Wilmer, what's trending today on Twitter. So this is really giving us information. It's telling me where these tweets are happening, and in a way, how much, because the larger the text, the more is being tweeted about that topic. So it is really a data map.